Good morning, everyone. This is Luke Moroney, and I'm here with Tony Meredith for the Sunday Mindset Session. This is where it is at on a Sunday morning. So hopefully you're having a good laugh, good joke, and maybe pulling up the covers on this Sunday morning. And that's what it's all about for us to remember to get ourselves out there and about there. I've been for my run this morning. Tony Meredith, how are you doing? What's going on in your world?
Well, look, I'm doing well. I haven't been for a run yet. I had a little sleep in this morning, but I'm sitting in my garage because it's got some intermittent rain at the moment. So I'm just here in my garage in inner city Brisbane, and looking forward to the topics this morning, which I'm not clear on, but that's okay. We'll just roll with it anyway.
Absolutely. Look, we had a plan over the last week, but I can't remember from a week ago. But it's always good to throw up a few dice in the air, juggle a few balls. And because this is what happens in our daily lives, right, Tony?
Absolutely, it never goes to script, and let me assure you, if I go back over recent times, it has not gone to script for me. So no, it's important. It's important to have the ability to adapt. It's important to be resilient, and a whole range of other skills. So no, I'm looking forward to this morning, mate, as I have for the last 52. So bring it on.
Okay, we've got Greg, Mum, Johnny all joining us. Greg says, good morning, boys. Good to have you on. Many others that have come on the Sunday morning's mindset session. And it is a time for us to just gather our thoughts, gather our feelings, and see what's actually going on so we can really push forward to the week ahead and make ourselves a better position. It's like we talked about flexing those muscles, right, Tony? We've got to flex those mind muscles. I think Gary Vee put a post up this week, which I shared onto Facebook and Instagram, talking about using building up your mental strength, your mental health muscles.
Yeah, of course. Well, the big one is resilience. All of us, no matter where we're at, have been through some incredibly tough times with this whole COVID-19 thing. And a lot of people have built resilience. A lot of people, unfortunately, have capitulated and haven't been able to move forward. So, that's one of the big things. If I look back at my last 5 years, there's so many things that I've learned, but being able to be resilient in the face of adversity and overcome challenges, that's something that has been incredibly important for me, and a skill, a muscle that I've built over time.
It's really interesting to see the differences and the talk that comes out of all this COVID thing, and where people are struggling. You might not hear the whinges in their talk, but it's some of the words that they are using. When I hear things like cabin fever and things like that, it makes me think about people in their own selves, on their own, in their own time, when they're by themselves, that they really struggle through this by some of those terms that they do use at different times. So, for everyone that's watching today, and Adam, Peter, Michael have all come on, and Peter says, good morning, boys. Watch out for those words that do come up, from people, and they might be sort of jovial around it, but what's actually going on deep inside them at this moment in time, that whole thing about that cabin fever, that lockdown, can't get out, can't do this, can't do that, can't, and all that sort of thing. Is that what you're hearing, Tony? Is that some of the things that you're kind of concerned about for others?
Oh, of course. And, we talk on here many times, Luke, that words are so powerful, right? And so words provide us an insight into what people are truly thinking. A lot of times people will try and mask what they're truly thinking, but when you speak to them enough, there'll be certain words that come through, and it gives you just a little window into what their thought process is. And so I have many sayings. One is be careful what you say to yourself, because your mind's listening. And so it's not just about listening to others, it's also about listening to yourself, and not necessarily listening out loud, but listening to your own thoughts. What are the things that you're saying to yourself? What are the things that you've been saying that I can't, low self-worth, doubt of this, guilt of that? Really listen to your own internal thoughts is just as important as, from then helping others, being able to listen to the words that come out from your friends and family.
That's absolutely right. So Craig, Christy's come on, Julian, and Peter says hi to Greg, which is really good. Everyone exchanging pleasantries on this Sunday morning. It's all about, sharing and caring some of the ways, and it actually brings me on to the topic of today. Thinking about, I'm in Byron Bay at the moment. I've been traveling for the past week and a half or so now up the New South Wales coastline, heading north. Whether I make it to Brisbane or Queensland or not is yet to be decided. We'll leave that.
Let you in.
Well, we'll leave
We,
that
we won't.
discussion. Sorry?
We won't let you in. It's the borders are up, mate. The Premier's saying no one's coming in.
Well, then, when there's a will, there's a way, Tony. We'll see how we go.
Fantastic. Good luck, mate. I look
My
forward.
father is a classic, right? He's been sending me text messages to go, Luke, go through the back way.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
You know, get in your car, drop your car, get Mark to pick you up at the border, sneak under the fence. And I was like, I mean, are we in like wartime or something like that? It just
Feels like it, particularly if you're down at Coolangatta. I haven't been there, but just seeing some of the pictures, it must be incredibly strange, given you've got the border that cuts right through Coolangatta and Tweed Heads, and you could literally walk, across each state, but you just can't bring your vehicle. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And being on this trip makes me think about, having these new discussions with people that I haven't met before, some strangers that are out there, and, some of the things that they are saying to themselves and saying out loud. And this is why I brought up this particular topic today. So it's interesting coming out of COVID now, some of the things that have come out and the discussions that have come out during this period, and also some of the discussions that I've been having with people over the last week or so. So I thought I'd bring up those today. Michael says, listen to your face in the mirror. He or she can be the best friend or worst enemy. Really nice. And check under the bonnet, Peter says. So a couple of great comments there. Moving on from Tony's quotes, I guess, that he's talking about. So actually, really reflect on yourself. Do you actually stare in the mirror, Tony? Is it a case of looking hard into the mirror and go, what is actually going on with me? How am I feeling? How am I thinking?
Mate, sometimes I have a chat to myself in the mirror. So sometimes I'll have a chat to myself and I'll say, you've got this. I'll say, you can do this. This is your moment. I'll have a whole range of conversations to myself, because it just to reinforce, it's about the affirmations, but also, staring at myself, looking back at the answer. I do it often. Yeah, absolutely.
It was actually, I saw a little bit of an exercise that you did with one of your students, Davina. She posted up that video last week where she asked herself a question, because she always thinks she knows the answers, but still sort of struggles with maybe some of the issues that are going on with herself. So I like that exercise that you did, Tony, of actually putting two videos side by side, herself, and it's a shame that she's not on right now, but her asking herself the question, and then in a second video, that side by side of actually her answering that question to herself.
Yeah, look, it's actually started as her idea, so we're going to do a lot more of them where I want people to feel like they can ask me plenty of those questions. And we're going to use her as an example. She's a paid client of mine, but nonetheless, I'm happy to help people where I can. So it's about sending your video, and then I will answer it for you in video to help people move forward, and not too dissimilar to what you and I do here of a Sunday morning, to be fair. And I've done other interviews with people, Cheryl over on the Property Development Australia page, etc. So just wanting to, have more specific questions from people. I want to give them very tailored answers to suit their situation.
So it's all about asking yourself those questions as if you were in the mirror. I always,
Exactly.
say to people, what advice would you give to yourself?
Yeah, I love it.
And then it makes, it really makes people think, but I don't know if they can instantly come up with an answer of that. So speaking of the devil, Davina has just come on, and we're just talking about the whole idea of, asking yourself that question. And then Davina, you've actually, through Tony Meredith's exercise there, you've answered that question yourself. So Peter saying good morning to everybody that's come on. Alex has also joined. And I said about Davina, Dan, and Tony Gallagher, also David has also come on as well. So a lot of people tuning in for this Sunday Mindset session. I'm in Byron Bay. Tony's up there in Brisbane. Sunny, well, a bit cloudy Brisbane today.
It's not sunny at all. There's no sun today. No, it's very overcast. So I'm sitting in my garage. I've got my neighbour coming past now. So just bear with us. So it's all happening.
Excellent. Well, Tony, some of the discussions that I have been having with individuals that are out there is, I got a sense last night having a discussion with someone is, do you think or do you feel through ideas and decisions? Mm-hmm. Now, it was really interesting. This particular person is a painter, right? Mm-hmm. And all they do is get a blank canvas and start painting. So it's very on a feel type of situation. But when they're in discussions, they talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, talk. So it's just kind of words coming out. I feel that there's not a lot of feeling in those thoughts or in those words that are being said, as opposed to what this person does when they're actually painting on a canvas, where they just go, whatever comes out is whatever. With the talk, it's just kind of words that don't mean that much. They're kind of just filler words all the time.
Empty. Yeah, sure. Sure. Yeah. Look, it's interesting. So one of the things is regarding feelings is that people get caught up in their feelings. For example, I don't feel like doing something. I feel tired, etc. So you want to be careful with your feelings. And I say here often, I've said it here for the last year, and I've said it probably before that, is you want to think greater than you feel, because that's what's going to get you moving forward. A lot of people stop at their feelings. You've got to listen to your feelings, but then look to move forward beyond them. Because, you know, I ask you the question multiple times over the last year, how many times have you genuinely felt like doing your run? Now, congratulations, by the way, mate, 900 runs in a row. Well done. Awesome. It's amazing. Quite simply amazing. So superhuman. Well done. But I've asked you, how often have you genuinely felt like running? And you know, your answer is typically less than 10% of the time. So less than 90 days in 900, have you actually felt like running? For 810 days, you've thought greater than you felt, and you've got yourself out there and you've run. So your thoughts are incredibly powerful.
You know what's really interesting, Tony? The only reason why I don't kind of feel like running is I push myself to get a better time, and
yeah,
that's the crazy thing of it, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing, Luke. So you're challenging yourself. You're looking for a PB, right? This is what it's all about. Remember, as kids, you know, it's all about get your PB, your personal best. Well, you're doing that now. So
Like
whatever is your whatever is your reason for moving forward, that's your reason, and you've leveraged that for the last 900 days. And it wouldn't have started 900 days ago. By all means, your running did, but that competitive nature, as you said, has been ingrained in you and built over many
it's
years.
In my DNA, mate. Don't worry about that.
Correct. No, but it's more the point of plenty of people, Luke, they'll go through those 810 days where you don't feel like it, and they'll stay in bed, and they'll pull the doona up, and they won't. So that's the difference. The difference is that you're thinking greater than you're feeling, and you're able to move forward.
Michael Edwards says a lot of people are faking being okay at the moment.
Yeah.
Rip the band-aid off and be real. It's interesting.
Look, I get it, Michael. It's not easy for people to be vulnerable. So yes, it would be great if people could be, totally upfront and honest and vulnerable. Look, let me talk about me. So I've been vulnerable to a point, but there's certainly a few things that are very private for me at the moment that we're going through. So I can talk very top line about it. And so with my family and friends, they're aware of what's going on specifically, but publicly in this sort of a forum, I'll talk at a high level, but I won't get into the specifics of it. So look, not everyone's open to that. It's a very, very brave, courageous thing to let your guard down, and particularly as men, we're taught to keep our mask on, right? And so this is really about changing the paradigms of being a man, right? And I can't speak on behalf of women, although women have their own masks, etc. But I can speak on behalf of being a man, and we do. We put our mask up, and it's about putting on a brave face. And you're right, we need to bring it down because people are struggling right now, and that's why days like the Are You OK Day was invented, etc. Because it's not only about us individually putting our mask down; it's about others around them sensing that what I hear what you're saying. I hear that you're telling me you're okay. I hear you telling me that you're fine. But are you really fine? Are you really okay? And let's have a chat about it.
Yeah, some interesting thoughts around that in terms of ripping the band-aid off and so forth. Some people will really struggle with that idea as well, Tony,
I agree.
of ripping that off and being a little bit more vulnerable. Like, I know there's a sense of both of us being fairly vulnerable, but I guess out of respect for other people that are around us, we're probably not telling every single part of the story, but on a high level standpoint, able to have discussions with people around that, but just in respect to other people that are not here and to their lives and their considerations, that we're not talking about these on a full basis.
Yeah, no, I agree. For those of you who have Netflix, if you want to talk about vulnerability, there's the Brené Brown, Brene Brown documentary speech that she does, all about vulnerability. It is amazing. So it's on Netflix. So if you feel like you want to watch something a little bit different, Brené Brown, she's an amazing lady and speaks very much on vulnerability and about bringing down your mask.
All right, Davina said she got up, so that's a good thing. I think she did a Facebook Live already this morning. David said, suppressing our emotions might not be too good. Yeah, agree with that. Ken Murray's come on as well. Issa has also joined us, and we've just been talking about discussions with other people and you know, with strangers and new people that are out there. What can you actually learn about yourself and also about human behavior? So it was really interesting to bring up that point about having a discussion with someone like last night who would paint on a canvas really easily with, you know, no thought about what they're actually going to paint. But in discussions, they were overthinking and, you know, thinking about every single situation or every different decision that they were going to make rather than be like they were as a painter. So super interesting. We talked about that already. Second topic I want to talk about is, are the ones that have issues the best ones to teach us? What do you think around this? You know, Tony, as a business and life coach, are the best ones that have had the failings, I guess the lessons, are they the best ones to teach us?
No, of course they are, because you know, so when you talk about ones being other people, so other people have some failings, etc. Absolutely, because there could be something that we take from that we may not have experienced that yet, that we can go, okay, well, how did they deal with that? Or if I was ever in that situation, would I deal with that the same way? You know, and so that's the key thing. The key is to learn from other people, right? It's absolutely critical. You know, personal development is a lifelong commitment. That's one thing, right? So I call that the knowledge, right? That, you know, I've got a success formula. And I was thinking about this because I know we're going to talk about something different today. So I was thinking about this in reflection, but it kind of links in here, right? So I talk about knowledge being 10%. You know, 10% of your success is you know what to do. And whether you know it through YouTube clips, whether you know it through a conversation from someone who's gone through something, you've got the knowledge. 15% of your success comes down to your skill, the ability to do that something. So just because you know something doesn't guarantee that you actually can do it. But then the largest portion of your success comes from the same topic that we talk about each and every Sunday, which is the M in SMS, being mindset. The other thing I want to say about the, you know, so absolutely leverage off people around you and learn. You know, you're mad if you don't, quite frankly, because it just helps broaden your experience. I love the fact that, you know, whether you go up into New South Wales, whether you're across in New York, wherever, you're always putting yourself out there, meeting new people, wanting to have a chat to new people, take on new experiences. You have your own experiences, but then you throw on the experiences of other people and you can learn a hell of a lot. And I'll bet you that in your experiences, there have been plenty of conversations where you go, that's good to know that. And so if ever I'm in that situation, I'll look to draw on this particular moment.
Absolutely. You know, I wonder, you know, the depth of some of the issues that people go through, and then I guess whether they continue to teach other people. I guess is my question sometimes. Ken, Julie, Sean, good to all have you on. A lot of comments that are coming through about this particular topic. Tony says, I agree, we can learn from other people's experiences. Agree with that as well. David says, this is my weakness, Luke, fear of making mistakes. Ooh, that's dangerous. Lou, good to have you on as well. And Ken says, past experience has to count. Use it in a positive way, though. So I guess, yeah, it's how it's taught, which is a good thought about Ken, you know, what Ken's saying around it. I use the whole experience from my first investment property that I bought without, you know, a team of experts around me, and I didn't see growth in that property for 10 years. I didn't lose out of that particular experience, but I did lose in terms of the opportunity cost to get into another property or not have that equity grow and things like that. So that's a good point. Reflecting back that in a positive way. So yes, I had that learned experience, but this is how you can come out of it as my student being the teacher. So some good thoughts from Ken.
Oh, look, amazing. And, you know, that's one of the key things you want to look back on. So I say don't dwell on things, but certainly want to look back and take the lesson from certain situations. You want to, you know, because we all make mistakes. So we don't have long enough to go through the list of mistakes that I've got. In fact, it'll be probably a month-long program, 24/7. So, but it's about learning from those mistakes. If I then link that back into David's comment, there's the polar opposite, right? So so Ken's out there saying, hey, I'm going to make mistakes, I'm going to learn from it, I'm going to refine what I'm doing, and I'm going to be better, and I'm going to be grateful for the mistake I'm making. On the other hand, you've got another person there saying, I'm not going to make any mistakes because I'm not even going to start, because I'm going to make zero mistakes. And so that's the only way that you'll be guaranteed of making no mistakes, is by doing that much, by doing nothing.
Right.
Mistakes equals learning equals growth. That's the reality. I wish it were different, but it's not different, right?
Basically, we've got David with the donuts, and we've got Ken with the ice creams.
I'm going with Ken. I'm going with Ken every day.
I thought so. I was just checking.
But that's the reality. So Ken's out there saying that he's made mistakes. He owns those mistakes. Some mistakes are more painful than others. I understand that. I can tell you through my own personal experience, they are. But you learn from those mistakes and you move forward. If you choose to do nothing, if you choose to sit on your couch in the comfort of your home, then you're never going to make a mistake. But here's the thing, that's because you've never actually started. And do you really want to look back in years to come and be the person who says, well, hey, I made no mistakes, but I did nothing for the last 10 years, as opposed to, you know what, I made an enormous amount of mistakes, but I'm so grateful because that shaped me to the person that I am today. I know what I'd rather, 10 days out of 10.
A little bit of advice for our viewers, and I'm seeing a lot of comments coming through at the moment. If you want to actually help yourself, right? You're obviously listening to us today, which is really good, but help yourself by writing comments in the comment box. By typing them down, you start reflecting on your own words. And we talk about terminology and talking out loud so much, Tony. I think it's just so powerful if people can write down some of these comments and bring it back to your own words. Right, some of these comments that are coming through. Greg says, try and surround. Well, forget the word try, but surround yourself around people who want the best for you. Great. David says, sometimes, another word that I am so brave to try, but sometimes I have fear to fail again, Tony. And I guess this is where we've got to reflect on some of those words we're telling us. So you're saying sometimes yes, sometimes no. And then you're saying the word try. And then, you're still having that reflection of fear. Good, David, that you're actually talking about it. That's, the awareness about what you're going on. We just need to work on some of that terminology and the fears that you're telling yourself, or thinking about what's it going to feel like when you're 80 years old, and not going through that factor of actually putting yourself out there,
Absolutely.
failing forward and all those things, right?
Absolutely. The other thing I'd say about comments in the Facebook Live, Luke, is that we're here to help people. So if you've got a specific example that you want help on, like we give up an hour of our time every Sunday morning, and Luke and I can prattle on for days if you'd like. But this is about helping you guys and girls, right? So if you've got something specific that's linked into the topic that you'd love for us to address here live and give you our 10 cents worth, maybe 20 cents worth, we'd love to hear it. So anyway, just some thoughts around the comments. But you're exactly right, Luke. The language is so powerful. Which again, be careful what you say to yourself, because your mind's listening. Try, if I go back to that word, try, what does Yoda says? So there is no try, there's only do or do not. Now, Yoda didn't invent that, it's actually a Chinese proverb, but nonetheless, it's either do it or you don't do it. You're not trying to do it. That's the first thing that I'll say. And the next one, David, what you need to do is think about the times when you've had bravery and courage and done the things that you felt, and what was going on for you. So that's where you want to think about those moments. Why was it that you were so brave and courageous in that particular moment? And pick that thought up, pick the anchors up, the things that are around you, and apply them to the moment where you're struggling a little bit, because this is not a capability issue, right? So you can do it because you've done it over there. So something over here is blocking you. So that's what you need to consider.
Yeah, he's actually said, I think it depends on my confidence level for that particular situation. So, exactly what you said, take it back to a time that you actually had that success, or you broke through that barrier, and then repeat it and repeat and repeat and repeat it. And sometimes you are going to, fall down, make a mistake, do an error, whatever it might be, but it's a lesson in where you're going to take this further for yourself. Ken says, could make a mini series on mine, on your story of mistakes. Probably is what he's referring to. And, you know, Tony's been all there with ice creams and mistakes as well. We won't get into that too much today. A lot of the viewers have probably already heard it about 15 times. Loves talking about ice cream. Michael Edwards says, more mistakes, the better. It's called experience. Absolutely agree. Just keep making mistakes and learn those lessons along the way. Ken said,
love it. One of the reframes is learn to love the mistakes. Right. If you start to have a reframe of learn to love the mistakes, you know, Gary Vee talks about love the losses. Love losing, right? So it's about reframing, because people will ordinarily say, oh, I hate to lose. I don't want to lose. Whereas Gary says, love to lose, right? So he's totally reframed it. And so we're saying here, love the mistakes, right?
It's really interesting, Tony, that to hear people when I've posted things like that before, I'm just like, no, he's got it wrong. You've got it wrong. Like, why would you love losing? People, I guess, have not experienced that thought process about what that actually means. And it was like, well, why would you want to love losing?
Yeah, and so they've got the context all wrong. So that's the first thing. And sometimes, you know, when words are written down, it's hard to appreciate the context. But you and I are massive fans of Gary Vee, so we understand his point. His point is, when you love to lose, that means you're going to try more things. Not everything you're going to try is you're going to get right. And that's the reality. And
would you want to win 1 out of 1 times or win 7 out of 14? I think he says that.
Absolutely. And you want to win 7, right? You want to win 7 out of 14. That's what you want, because you want to keep having a go, stepping up, making a mistake. But that's also how you learn things, right? So within my business, I call it test and learn. So everything that me and my clients are doing, we don't always get it 100% right on the first time. That's the reality. If that upsets some people, well, then perhaps I'm not the person to work with. But the reality is, what we do is we constantly do things, test and learn. We try some things, we do some things. How did that go? What worked well? What didn't work well? What can we refine? What can we adapt? What can we do differently? Right? You only get that experience by actually getting on the field and playing, as opposed to sitting up in the stands and providing commentary.
Who wants to be in the bleachers? Get out in the field. Brett, good to see you on. Gabby's also joined. Kat's come on as well. What we've got here, Peter says, I'm beginning to look at my mistakes as lessons, lifts a weight off me. And it's really good to see Peter and a few others that have come out and doing a whole bunch of Facebook Lives now, which is really good, stepping it up. And I know they're doing that with the help of Davina in some of the things that they're doing. So it's extraordinary to see that sort of growth in these people. And on the back of, you know, what we're doing, Tony, what Davina's doing, many others have actually putting themselves out on a constant basis. Some of these guys are like stepping it up, and that starts to generate so much more confidence levels for them, which is awesome. I know David's doing a lot of that as well. So big shout out to those guys. Peter says, how do you train to listen to yourself? What do you reckon, Tony?
Well, what do we talk about, Luke? What are the 2 questions? The 2 questions. We do it. We talk about it all the time. The 2 questions at the end of the day.
Mate. I can't remember.
Oh, no. So the 2 questions are, what went well? What went well, and what can I do differently? So, you know, one of the things is, when you talk about listen to yourself, is that we actually don't allow ourselves. You know, what we do is we get caught up in the fast-paced nature of the world, and we actually don't want to stop and reflect on ourselves, because we're scared of what might come up for us. So it's like, well, if I just bury that thing down and ignore it, and just do this other thing over here and keep my mind busy. But where you have the real growth is when you stop and you reflect and you go, you know what went well for me today? And you start to think about those sorts of, there might be, you know, a handful of things that went well. And what would I have done differently? Yeah, okay, well, I acted with fear there. I procrastinated there. I didn't handle myself well in that situation. Okay, cool. Well, it is what it is. And what will I do differently now moving forward tomorrow? And so those 2 questions, every day. You don't need a coach for that. You just need to sit and take the time and ask yourself those questions. And that is how you start to have conscious awareness, because the bulk of the things that we actually do, we're not aware that we do them, right? In the sense of that it comes from our subconscious and it just happens automatically. We're on autopilot. A moment happens, a trigger happens, and we react immediately, because we've always reacted that way for the last 5 years, for the last 20 years, whatever it might be, right? We just react. And so you have to break that. You have to break that pattern, break that cycle. And you break that cycle by elevating your thoughts from your subconscious to your conscious awareness.
Just by asking those two simple questions to yourself each and every day. And that's what's powerful. I found myself really reflecting on some of the words, some of the human behavior components last night in having discussions with new people and those that are strangers as well for me. So it was a really good reflection on seeing how people act and interact with others, and how, like I said about that example, you know, this girl that I spoke to last night can, you know, paint on a canvas with no idea, no thought, just go on her feelings. But when it comes to discussions, it's very different for her, where it's overthinking, over talking and whatever, and not actually just have some time for her to actually reflect on her own thoughts or what other people are thinking and saying at the moment as well. Because it's, I don't know if it might be a thing of, you know, not allowing uncomfortable space in conversation as well. It might be, you know, maybe an insecurity of, you know, having to talk all the time. So, you know, sometimes to pull it back, and this is a good one for me as well, to pull it back sometimes, stop, allow some space, allow some time, thinking time can generate so much more. And it actually brings me on to the third point that I want to discuss, is allowing gaps in your speech for others to interject. Tony, you're good at this. Before we get into that, David says, still never forget that time you told me to get myself out there, guys. Best decision. Big smiley face, ripping a few good connections. Ripping? So I don't know in regards to that. So he's getting a lot of connections out of it. So that's really good. See, David, you know, there's a story you can keep telling yourself, is that you're putting yourself out there right now. You're facing those fears. Why aren't you reflecting on that, rather than reflecting on the times that you actually have been fearful in those situations? So I guess, Tony, and my message, and I'm sure that you agree with me on this one, Tony, is reflect on those times where you have actually been successful, like you just did, write down. So that should be the first thought, not the times that you have had the failures. So I don't know, what do you think around that, Tony?
Well, again, it's about the reflection of what's gone well. So when it's gone well for you, what was it about that? And I don't have a problem with people reflecting on when things have fallen over, providing as you don't dwell, right? You want to reflect on it to get the lesson of that. Why did it fall over? What was it that I was lacking confidence in, or whatever the example was, right? But the other thing then, it's always about, after you spend a little bit of time in reflection, constantly look in the direction of your travel. Like, how do you drive a car? You drive it looking through the front windscreen. You don't drive it, you know, staring at the rear view mirror. And a lot of people, unfortunately, stare at the rear view mirror, whereas I want you to look through the front windscreen. That's the key thing. Because
go your issue.
The last thing was thoughts become things. It is the three most powerful words that I've learned about personal development. If I could sum up all of the personal development books that I've ever read and people that I've come across and learned, it comes down to three words: thoughts become things. When you think that you can do something, you give yourself an enormous chance of success. When you think you can't do something, you will never, ever, 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 ever do that. Thoughts become things. If you learn nothing else, please remember those three words. Sorry, mate.
My concern around that, for people, is if they're going to the negative straight away first, that's their default.
That's the default. Right? Yeah.
That's where I would like for people to think about those times first where they have been successful, and then reflect on maybe some other lessons that they've learned where, you know, they have had some failures or other things that have happened. But the first thought I believe, should be around, where's the success been? Where have you actually faced those fears in the past and have been really good for you? Greg says, this is why I'm here, which is great. So learning, growing, and all that sort of stuff. Peter says a big thank you to Tony Meredith. Ken says, can you just say what you said about try? Sorry, I heard you say it's not try. Earpiece fell out. So can you say that again, Tony?
So it is, it's do or do not. So it's not try. So don't try to do it. You're either doing it or you're not doing it. So it's binary. So you're either doing the thing that you know you should be doing and you're having a red hot crack at it, or you're not doing it. But a lot of people say, well, I'll try to do that. I'll try.
And then
it's the language. It's the
about Yoda, right? Yoda and the
Yoda. Yeah. Yoda and the Chinese proverb. Yeah, but it's a subtlety in language, and it goes back to be careful what you say to yourself because your mind is listening. The language is the window into your thought. Like, we can't look inside your brain, right? But we can get a fair idea by the language that people are saying, by the actions that people are either taking or failing to take.
Absolutely. Sean says, good morning, fellas. And David says, just fear of saying the wrong things. And then Davina said back to David that you're doing really well. Declan's come on as well. Adrian and Sally, good to have you all on. Ken, hopefully that answers your question about that as well. But what about in terms of this whole idea about gaps in speech and allowing for others to interject, Tony? What do you think about this, being a big talker yourself?
Well, I've just given you a little gap then, so I can do it. I've just proved to myself that I can do that. So it's important because
it's allowing the gaps in the middle when you are speaking for someone to come back to you.
Sure. So because people get uncomfortable with silence, and so as a coach, No, not as a coach. No, not as a coach. I don't. In fact, it's one of the most powerful tools. So, the two most powerful tools as a coach is questions and listening, right? So questions and listening, two most powerful tools. And absolutely, people have an awkward silence. You look at a few interviews, on TV or whatnot. Very good interviewers will ask a question and they'll be silent, or someone will be speaking and they won't respond, and the person who's being interviewed will feel compelled to then say something else and fill the void, right? And you watch the very, very best interviewers in the world, and they are just amazing at it. So, look, from a coaching point of view, 100%. Obviously, this is not coaching per se on a Sunday morning. There's a little bit of coaching, but I mean, it's just you're having a chat. But certainly, from a coaching point of view, questions and then listening, absolutely critical. And so for me, listening is 4 to 1. Right, you want to listen 4 times as much as you speak. Worst case scenario, you've got 2 of these and 1 of these, so listen 2 times as much as you speak. But I stretch myself and challenge myself to 4 to 1, and those who work with me will be able to attest to that as well.
I guess me as the interviewer, I should be using that sort of a ratio. I guess in this framework, the speaker rather than the coach. And then giving advice along the way, Tony, is that where we're coming into that thought? So I should be listening more, and then you should be talking more and allowing that conversation to happen.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see this as an interview per se. I mean, we've done it that many times. So I see it as a couple of blokes having a chat.
I'm trying to help you, Tony. I'm trying to help you.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. I missed that opportunity. But no, certainly, look, great, because I know that I interject over you. I know you interject over me. Hopefully it makes for good viewing. And it's not, we're doing it for the right reasons. We want to make sure that we're both getting the points out to people and making it engaging for people as well.
Absolutely. That's what we're all about. I guess, I'd love to hear from the viewers if they allow some gap in their speech. I had a couple of people last night where they were speaking and constantly talk. Allow people to think about and reflect on some of the words that you're saying is the message from me. Say, okay, give people an opportunity to come back. And even when you're telling a story and you get halfway through a story, doesn't mean that you need to finish the whole story. But if you can get someone to reflect back on that, they might provide you with so much gold that you didn't realize. So being open to allow that interjection is, it's like a confidence thing, it can be quite powerful as well. Being a better listener and telling a story, giving that enough gap so that someone can come back to you with some words of advice or some thoughts.
Well, being a better listener is key because it provides you the opportunity to learn from other people, right? You want to take the approach of you don't know it all, I don't know it all, none of us know it all. And there are things in conversations and experiences that you can pick up that will help just build your own skill. Because again, you'll have a conversation with this painter last night, and there'll be something that comes up, and you go, you know what? Fantastic! I need to incorporate that, or I should do more of that, or whatever it might be, right? Because you're putting yourself out there, you're creating more rounded experience, rounded conversations. You're prepared to speak to people, and knowing you as I do, speak to people from twofold. One will be to help people and provide them suggestions and advice, but also there'll be some things that you can learn in that conversation as well that you may take to future conversations.
Here we go. Look for this one, Tony. I'm a blank canvas of learning.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's fantastic because it's all about
today.
Yeah, of course it does. It's all about just being prepared to keep learning. Life is one big lesson, right? If you stop learning, then you're slowly dying, quite frankly. I'm sorry if that upsets people.
That's what Jack Nicholson said. The moment you stop learning, I think you're dead.
Well, there you go. So it's all about learning and constantly challenge yourself to learn new things, put yourself into new experiences, new situations, meet new people. It's such a powerful thing when you have a different conversation with someone. They come at it from a totally different perspective, and it's like, you know what? I've never thought of that way before. Right? And I think it's wonderful. There's a lot to be learned.
Tony Gallagher said, isn't interjection what a conversation actually is about? Good point, Tony. Sometimes people, there are sometimes people out there that, it's a one-way conversation. They just want to unload all the things that are going on in their life. So that's an interesting one to think about. Hopefully they give you enough space to actually have a conversation with them. But in some situations, it's not like that. Peter says, so important to listen to the other person and not to talk about yourself all the time. Do you think it's a skill? Absolutely. Because probably 95% of the people that are out there probably like to talk about themselves.
What's their favorite topic? What's my favorite topic? Is to talk about me, right? And so that's the reality. We want to talk about ourselves. We want some significance. We want some importance. We want to be heard. And so it's an absolute skill to be able to stop, ask questions and listen. And that's why, again, if I talk about my profession, not everybody is a great coach because not everyone has the ability to do that. There's plenty of good coaches, but there's a difference between being a good coach and a great coach because a great coach is someone who is able to let the coachee come up with their own, I'm getting a bit wet here, come up with their own solutions.
So we've been talking about a lot of different things today in terms of having discussions with new people and strangers, what you can actually learn. Like I said earlier, it was about me being a blank canvas of learning and really reflecting about yourself when you're hearing from other people in their discussions and, thinking about what's going on with human behavior and in discussions, the dynamics of a group, the dynamics of conversation that you're having. Is it a 95% conversation where you're doing all the listening and someone's doing all the talking, or vice versa? Are you doing too much talking and you're not listening enough or asking questions about the other person? So a couple of things that we've reflected on is do you think or feel through ideas and decisions? Is it a thinking or feeling thing for you? So maybe consider that. If it's all thinking, maybe there's a component of feeling that you want to be doing about that as well. Secondly, it was about are the ones that have the issues are the best ones to teach. So there can be some different ideas around that, just exploring some thoughts around that. Yes, they've gone through mistakes, they've had experiences, but have they had too many raw and challenging experiences to actually reflect better in or more positive way, as Ken was saying earlier, to that situation or to that student? And the third one is allowing the gaps in your speech for others to then interact. Tony, any final thoughts today about our Sunday mindset discussions? Before I get to you to that, Ken says, telemarketers never shut up for you to tell them no. Well, that's their job. It's a different sort of conversation, Ken, I would say. Peter said also have to learn to ask the right questions. The right questions, well, I would say powerful questions rather than the right questions. Some of those deep thinking questions that allows people to bring up maybe some of the thoughts and feelings that are going on with themselves, whether they're ready to do that or not. Sometimes people aren't ready to reach out or give you more of themselves. Ken also says 100% keep educating yourself. We never are too old to learn. Life evolves and changes daily. Good on you. For someone of Ken's age to say something like that is remarkable. I wholeheartedly agree with him. Not to say that he's older or anything like that, but you know, even someone where, you know, someone of his age where technology is not, or social media is not really used that predominantly through his age group. But he is going on there, doing Facebook Lives, posting on Facebook, doing radio programs, you know, articles in the local community magazine newspapers about what's going on with Ken's Cones and the ice cream truck that he runs around the South Coast on. Paul has come on as well. So Tony, any final thoughts?
Oh, I just want to say on Ken, and when you say people a little bit older, then those sorts of comments around technology, they're limiting beliefs, because Ken's a great example of someone who's just getting out there. It doesn't matter how old you are. It's 2020. The things that are here today is what's here today. Let's not be romantic about what was there in 2000 or 1990. And so it's a limiting belief. So Ken, you broke through that ceiling, and it sounds like you're doing some wonderful things, which is awesome. Final 2 words for me: be open. Be open. Be open to having conversations. Be open to learning. Be open to meeting new people. Be open to listening. Just be open. Put yourself out there. Like, I just love the fact that, Luke, you put yourself out there. As I said, you go across to your conferences overseas, or whether you're heading up to the North Coast, whatever it might be. You're just wanting to mix it with people. Say good day. Be open. A lot of people are very closed, very sheltered. Don't let people in. There's a wonderful world out there, and you want to experience it. And it doesn't have to be the experience of actually going to, you know, famous landmarks. It's a wonderful world, as in, go to your local and have a chat with someone who you've not spoken to before, and be open to learning some stuff. Be open to meeting a new person. Be open to, you know, sharing some of your experiences for the benefit of everybody, helping each other up.
Yeah, I'm copying it a little bit from the older generation on here today. Tony, watch out, Luke, our age group, and 63 years young, says Ken, haha. So, you know, obviously there's a smaller percentage of people on social media at that age group than there are at an age group of 18 to 25, as an example. And that's why I'm reflecting on it. So I'm looking to lift you guys up rather than bring you down. You know, I am actually reflecting on the positive of what you're doing as well. So that's an important one. I want to just reflect on one thing that I did a little bit of a video about this morning. And I actually said that day 901 is so much more important than day 900. It was about still having the focus, number one, Tony. 2, keeping that momentum going. And 3, you normally celebrate the 900, right? And then it's kind of like, okay, you know, what's after that? But it's the keep going aspect of it. And that's, I think, even more powerful is day 901 than day 900.
Absolutely. So for you, yes. But for someone sitting there going, oh my gosh, day 900, I don't think I could ever get to day 900. Well, guess what? Day 2 is more important than day 1. So you got to get to day 1, but then get to day 2, right? And that's how Luke did it. Luke,
day 3 is more important than day 2.
Of course it is. And that's it. Luke started off that way 901 days ago, right? He didn't just sort of, you know, land on earth at day 900. It's about, you've got to do that something the first day and the second day and the third day. And typically it takes 66 days just to form the habit. I'd say at 900, the habit's formed, but it certainly takes, you know, 66 days. You've got to get to at least 66 days. If you have that as your goal, first and foremost, but look, even before that, just start something.
Brooks, come on. Ken said, absolutely love technology. It makes doing business so much easier and better. Awesome. Too right, Ken, and me, 61 years young. Good to see the guys of mature age come on and tell us about their experiences today on the Sunday Mindset Session. Thank you, Tony Meredith. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Luke Moroney.
It's been a great session. Thank you, everyone. And goodbye for now. Have a great Sunday wherever you are. Bye.
Bye. Bye.